Hey guys, we are officially less than a week away from the 2024 Oscars, and I don't know about you, but I'm pretty excited. It's a fun night and one that many nominees will only have dreamed about in their wildest dreams, and it really can be life-changing, so for those reasons I do enjoy watching it, and I always feel incredibly inspired afterwards. However, do I think that they always get it right and that they are the be-all and end-all of deciding what is quote-unquote the best? No. As Jay-Z recently said,
Some of you gonna go home tonight and feel like you've been robbed. Some of you may get robbed.
but I have just completed my Best Picture watch list, so I thought it would be a bit of fun to rank the films and predict who I think will come out on top. This channel is all about trying to take the pretentiousness out of cinema, so I've based a lot of my rankings on what films I genuinely enjoyed the most and would want to watch again. You might wildly disagree with me, and if so, I would love to know what your rankings are in the comments below. And I also just want to clarify that usually there is one Best Picture nominee that I don't really like, but this year that was not the case. I genuinely enjoyed each one of these films for different reasons, so just because a film is lower down in the list doesn't mean I don't think it isn't deserving of the Best Picture nomination. Okay, coming in at number 10 we have Killers of the Flower Moon, directed by Martin Scorsese. Already I have probably offended a lot of you by putting the king of Letterboxd at number 10, but don't get it twisted, I did really enjoy this film, and in any other list it would probably come out near the top. I think that it is an incredibly important story that deserved to be told, and I think that Scorsese absolutely did the book justice. And it goes without saying that the film is visually stunning, and I love the score by Robbie Robertson. Lily Gladstone was incredible. I am very torn between her and Emma Stone for Best Actress, but I think that I'm leaning more towards Lily. But I have to confess that I did have to watch it twice to fully sit through the whole film. Granted, the first time I did put it on as a background watch, but this is one that I definitely regret not catching at the cinema. It may just be my TikTok rotted brain, but the almost 4-hour runtime was a lot for me. I think that when it first came out, a lot of people said that they didn't feel the runtime, but I have a theory that the cinema environment might have had something to do with this. I do agree that the edit was definitely effective. I mean, Thelma doesn't miss, and the pacing of the edit was great, but the overall structure of the film is what I struggled with. I feel like Scorsese is just such a movie legend that he doesn't have people telling him to cut it down anymore, which I mean, he has respectfully earned the right to. At the end of the day, he is Scorsese, what do I know? But sometimes less is more, and this more resulted in it not being my favourite Scorsese film. Is it Best Picture worthy? What I mean by this is, can I genuinely see it deservedly winning Best Picture on the night? And the answer is unfortunately no. At number 9 we have Maestro, directed by Bradley Cooper, and probably the most trolled nominee of the year. But I'm here to defend Mr. Cooper. Does it tick all of the Oscar baity boxes? Yes. But does this mean that it's inherently bad? No. And I think that we can safely say, judging from this film and A Star is Born, that Cooper can definitely hold his own as a director. When the word biopic is mentioned, I do tend to hold my breath. But I loved how this film is more of an exploration of the relationship between Leonard Bernstein and Felicia Montenegro, rather than a single character study. I thought the acting was great from both Bradley and Carrie, and they had a genuine, effective chemistry. Although I did hear someone say that he sounds like he has a cold in the scenes when he is older, and I couldn't stop thinking about this. This film also has some epic transitions, something that I don't see in many films nowadays, and definitely appreciated. But overall, it wasn't until the last third of the film that I really started to connect with it. And I think this is because I was more emotionally invested in Carey Mulligan's character, but I'm not sure that this was Bradley's intention, so for this reason, I don't think that it is Best Picture worthy. Coming in at number 8, we have The Zone of Interest, directed by Jonathan Glazer. After I watched this film, it genuinely took me 4 to 5 business days to recover. When I left the cinema, my heart was pounding and I had a sick feeling in my stomach. What I mean to say is that it quite literally had a physical effect on me, and I always think that if a film can affect me in this way, I have to appreciate it for that very reason. It was incredibly haunting, and I found it even more chilling because of the current day reflections that were so palpable throughout, and I think that it is an incredibly important film because of this. The harrowing use of sound was obviously a standout element of the film, and although Oppenheimer is up there for the best sound design, I think that The Zone of Interest deserves it for its creativity. Unlike Marty earlier, this is a perfect example of less being more. What ultimately definitely puts it towards the bottom of this list for me. It's just the fact that I don't think I will ever rewatch it, as I think that once was enough for it to stay with me mentally. Is it Best Picture worthy? It is absolutely award nominee worthy, but would I personally want it to win above the other films? No. At number 7, we have Anatomy of a Fall, directed by Justine Triet. I was obsessed with the concept of this film, and the opening had me hooked from the offset. I think that it should actually be studied and used as the perfect example of how to engage an audience. I also loved the commentary that the film was making about how we judge people and the assumptions we make. And after the Donkey Gate of last year, I think that we can all agree that we need a Best Animal Performance category, because what do you mean that was a real dog? This is such a cliche to say now, but I genuinely will never listen to PIMP the same again. Sandra Hüller was a standout for me, and I think that it's definitely telling that she is featured in 2 films that are Best Picture nominees this year. I thought that the script was great, and this is evidence in its ability to keep you gripped in such heavy dialogue scenes. I do, however, think that some of the courtroom scenes went on slightly too long for my liking, and spoiler warning, skip 20 seconds if you want to avoid spoilers. Because I'm annoying, I have to admit that I was disappointed that we didn't find out whether she did it or not. I understand that this was the point of the film, but I just became so invested that to not find out left me feeling slightly empty. And again, this is probably the director's intention, but I'm greedy and I wanted more. Is it Best Picture worthy? For me, unfortunately, no. For number 6, we have the film that I am probably the most on the fence about, which is Poor Things, directed by Yorgos Lanthimos. I think that Yorgos is one of the most unique and inventive directors who is currently working. Even if I don't love his films, I can always appreciate his creative vision and execution, and Poor Things is no exception to this. What a film. It is probably my favourite of his. I was entirely in awe of the visuals throughout the entire film, and if I was judging this ranking on cinematography alone, this film would be my best picture. The costume and set design were on another level, and I hope that they win big in those categories, as they should. And I have unironically started self-consciously dressing like Bella. Style icon. Emma Stone is one of my favourite actors, and this was another example of why she is up there for me, and I think she definitely improved as the film went on. Like a lot of Yorgos's films, the comedic elements and over-the-top outlandish scenes were masking some serious themes and commentaries, and I do enjoy this element of his films, as it can make these darker topics easier to digest as an audience member. I'm just not sure where I stand on his use of explicitness in this film, if you know what I mean. I'm in 2 minds about it. I have a feeling that my appreciation for this film is only going to grow, but for right now, this felt like the right ranking on my list in terms of personal preference. Is it Best Picture worthy? For me, because I'm so uncertain about the film, I'm gonna have to say no, but maybe this will change in the future. Coming in at number 5, this might surprise some of you, but we have Oppenheimer, directed by Christopher Nolan. And the main reason that this is not higher on the list is that it has actually gone down for me from my initial 4.5 rating to a 4. Maybe it was the Barbenheimer hype or just seeing it in the cinema, but upon a rewatch, I just picked up on some negatives that I didn't really notice in my initial watch. Do I expect that it will dominate at the Oscars? Yes, and rightfully so, because it is such a feat in filmmaking. The direction, cinematography, editing, sound and acting, as you would expect of a Nolan film, are practically flawless. And there are definitely scenes in this film that I consider to be flawless, most notably the bomb testing scene, which is real bum clenching stuff, and the speech scene after the bombing is truly genius. The final scene also gives me chills and really hits home the weight of the film, and I have to completely agree with Nolan on the film's dramatic significance. Plus, it gets extra points from me for the Greek mythology references. One of my favourite things about Nolan as a director is that he doesn't underestimate his audience. However, sometimes I think he takes this to the extreme, and I don't think he has learnt his lesson from Tenet. At times when I was watching this, I felt like a big dum-dum. Naturally, if your brain is working overtime trying to figure out what certain characters are talking about or what on earth is going on in general, your viewing experience and ability to just feel the movie is going to be hindered. And when I rewatched this film, I noticed how fast and all over the place the first third of the film is. It felt like they sacrificed stability in the story in the place of fast pacing and overloading information. For me, there were too many short scenes in such quick succession. But overall, the positives of the film do outweigh the negatives, which is why I would say that it is Best Picture worthy. However, if they do win, I'm just putting it out there that I hope they give Barbie a little shout out for the box office boost. Coming in at number 4, we have American Fiction, directed by Cord Jefferson, which is a film that I don't think a lot of people will have this high in their Best Picture rankings. But as a script girly, this film really spoke to me as a movie for screenwriters. And not just because it's a film about writers, but because the script is really the standout aspect of the film. The writing is so clever and witty, and the film manages to make a strong and relevant commentary in an entertaining way which pokes fun at the state of the literary world and Hollywood. It is such a meta film in the best way, and it is filled with genuine laugh out loud moments. I had such a good experience watching it at the cinema. Maybe I just got lucky with the audience, but every joke was hitting. The film also had a great blend of well-timed emotional moments which had me in my feels. It did feel like there were quite a lot of subplots going on, which left the film feeling a bit directionless at times. But I personally enjoyed the subplots, so this wasn't something that necessarily held it back for me. I felt like it had a very solid setup, which really got me invested in the characters. This did subsequently mean that it took a while for the film to reach the inciting incident and really get into the plot, but again, this is something that didn't bother me because by that point I was very much invested in Jeffrey Wright's character, and he was brilliant as Monk. I think he is such a strong actor, and I've loved him since Catching Fire. Also, this is definitely my personal preference, but I just love the jazz. Surprisingly and rather hypocritically, I would say, however, that it's not necessarily Best Picture worthy, as I'm not sure that it holds its own against some of the other nominees, but personally, I really wouldn't be mad if it won, and I enjoyed it more than Oppenheimer, which is why it is at number 4. Coming in at number 3, we have Barbie, directed by Greta Gerwig. I feel like recently there's been a real shift in people's opinions on this film, but I'm here to say that I did not jump on the Barbie hate train. Do I think that Greta and Margot were robbed of their nominations? Well, this is definitely not my favourite Greta film or my favourite Margot performance, and actually I think that Margot deserves to get more praise and recognition for her role as a producer for this film rather than the lead actress. But I would be lying if I said it didn't hurt to see Greta not included in the Best Director category, especially after the huge success of Barbie. But I also think that Celine's song is just as, and maybe even more deserving of a Best Director nomination, so it's a tricky one. But speaking solely about the film, I do love it. As Greta always does, she managed to speak to my soul with Barbie. Not as much as some of her other films do, but with this film being the Mattel Barbie behemoth that it is, this didn't surprise me. But I think that we aren't talking enough about what a historical moment this film was. To me, this is a future Spielberg-level classic that will be such a definitive indicator of the 2020s, and I was having these thoughts as I was watching the film on Barbenheimer Day. To reference Lady Bird, I just kept thinking, wow, I am truly living through something here. It also makes me really happy to think about the little kids who watched it getting to re-experience the film and its deeper meanings when they are older. The production design is permanently etched in my brain, and it is so funny. I would love to see Ryan take that Best Supporting Actor win home for his amazing comedic delivery. But at the same time, the film is also wonderfully deep. The fact that it was able to tackle such huge questions like what it means to be a woman and ultimately to be human, while still being funny and entertaining, to me speaks volumes. Is it the perfect film? No. I personally would have loved to see more real-world Barbie moments, and this is more of a minor issue, but I do think that they tried to cram too much music into the film to the point that it felt oversaturated. But these issues aside, it is definitely Best Picture worthy, and I personally would give it one for the real-life women footage montage alone. Coming in at number 2, we have Past Lives, the Would You Believe It feature directorial debut from Celine Song. After I watched this film, I could not stop thinking about it for well over a week. Every single thing about this film is beautiful. The cinematography, the concept of Inyun, the score, the editing, the performances, the writing, and just the overall storytelling from Celine Song. Every minute of this film is like watching visual poetry, and I am in complete awe of it. I have rewatched it 3 times now, and each time I've watched it, I've enjoyed it even more. When I first heard about this film being compared to Richard Linklater's Before trilogy, I knew that this film would be for me, and it was everything I wanted and more. This film manages to portray such a personal story, and one that is inspired by Celine's real life, while simultaneously capturing such a universally relatable narrative, one that I believe speaks to everyone who watches it in some shape or form. I cannot believe that this is Celine's feature directorial debut, and I will be avidly watching anything that she does in the future. As I said earlier, justice for her Best Director nomination. And speaking of robbed nominations, where is Greta Lee's Best Actress nominations? Huh, Oscars? To me, this film encompasses the feeling of that final scene in La La Land where Emma Stone looks back at Ryan Gosling. Is it Best Picture worthy? Absolutely. Which leads us to my number one, which, if you've been following my channel, might not come as a surprise, The Holdovers by Alexander Payne. Now, I don't mean to selfishly plug, but I have already made a whole video review about why I love this film, so I will keep this short and sweet. This film encompasses everything I love about cinema. It is the coziest of cozy films, aka my favourite genre, and it truly feels like a timeless classic, and I can't remember the last time I've gotten this feeling from a recent movie. It is an immediate favourite. Is it Best Picture worthy? A big fat yes. Now, onto the predictions. Who do I think will win the Best Picture? From all the other awards ceremonies so far, I think that we have a pretty clear winner with Oppenheimer, which, like I said earlier, I am completely fine with. I think that it's very deserving, but my personal pick, unsurprisingly, would be The Holdovers. Thank you so much for watching. Will you be tuning into the Oscars? If yes, I would love to know who you will be rooting for Best Picture. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and feel free to subscribe for more reviews and recommendations.